Hey everybody, it's Tao at the Forge, and today I thought I'd start doing a few deck techs once in a while to kind of mix things up on the channel. So today I thought I'd start off with one that I call Sleeper Agent. Now, Sleeper Agent is a deck that basically revolves around taxing your opponent for having creatures. And if they don't have creatures, then, well, we're just going to give them to them, right? And then if your opponent has removal, then what they have to do is use removal on their own creatures, right? On things that they have, okay? So this is how it's going to go. We start off, the way I started actually building the deck is I actually saw this card Sleeper Agent. And Sleeper Agent's a really interesting card in that it's a 1 mana 3/3. And it says when Sleeper Agent comes into play, target opponent gains control of it. Right? So as soon as you put it into play, you have to give it to your opponent. Right? And during your upkeep, Sleeper Agent does 2 damage to you. So basically, your opponent has to get hit for 2 damage every single time. All right? But they get a 3/3, so they're hitting you for 3 back with it, right? So we have to find a way to kind of eliminate that. And a lot of times, like, your opponent's not going to want to kind of get rid of this, or they're not going to be able to get rid of it, right? And so they're basically being just hit for 2 every single time. But the problem is you're getting hit for 3, so how do you deal with it? Okay, so there's a couple of things that we're going to do. The first one is that we can put a stab wound on it. Okay, because it's a 3/3, we can put a stab wound on it and make it a -2/-2. So then we make it into a 1/1, right? And at the beginning of your upkeep, that creature's controller, not the owner, the controller, loses 2 life. So the Sleeper Agent does 2 damage, and then the stab wound on the Sleeper Agent does 2 damage. So now they're taking 4 damage every turn, and they only actually get a 1/1 basically in return for it, right? And so that can actually, if they don't have the proper creature removal, then that can really be really bad, right? And a lot of times things will say like, destroy or target a creature that your opponent controls or something like that, but because you don't control it, right, then a lot of things can't target it. All right. The other thing that we're going to do possibly is put a vampiric link on it, right? And so what we can do is you can put a vampiric link, and whenever enchanted creature deals damage, you gain that much life. Now you got to be careful though, because the damage hits first, and then you get the life. So if they can bring you to 0 first before you get the life trigger, then you'll still lose. Right, so what we're going to do is potentially we want to put the Sleeper Agent down, and then if we can't stab wound it, then we're going to vampiric link it. Now if your opponent puts down something huge also, kind of like a questing beast or something like that, then you can still put like vampiric link on it, right? If they put down whatever beater they have, just put vampiric link on it, and then whatever it does damage to you, unless they can just one-shot you with it, it's not going to do anything. You're just going to get the life back right away. All right, so and then you can start stacking stab wounds on it and stuff like that. Okay, the other way that we're going to win is just straight up through a burn type thing. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to play Blood Chief Ascension. Blood Chief Ascension, it's kind of a lot of words, okay, but basically it comes onto the battlefield, and ideally we would like to play this on turn 1. So at the beginning of each end step, that's not just your end step, that's your opponent's end step as well. If an opponent lost 2 or more life this turn, you may put a quest counter on Blood Chief Ascension. So it's important that you play this turn 1 if you have it. Don't hold off on it. All right, and the reason why is because if your opponent happens to play like a pain land, like that counts as them doing 2 damage, right? And so they lost 2 life. That means that they'll get a counter on your Blood Chief Ascension, right? And whenever a card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, that's anywhere. That means like if they cast a card, like let's say they cast an instant and it goes to the graveyard, right? Then Blood Chief Ascension, if it has 3 more quest counters on it, you may have that player lose 2 life. If you do, you gain 2 life. So, for instance, if they hit you with a lightning bolt, right? Well, they'd hit you for 3, but then the lightning bolt goes to the graveyard, they take 2, and you gain back 2. Right, so this can be really, really bad for your opponent, especially if you have multiples of these, right? So, if you can get one down, and then you're also taxing them with Sleeper Agent, so you're kind of hitting them from 2 places at once. So the Sleeper Agent, you got the Sleeper Agent, Vampiric Link, and Stab Wound tax that you're constantly hitting them with, and they have to have the creature removal for it. But then you also have the Blood Chief Ascension, which is constantly taxing them as well, and that's going to make it so that it's really difficult for them to kind of deal with this on multiple levels. All right, and then on top of that, what we are going to do is we're going to play Magma Jet, right? A Magma Chest actually super good, first of all, because it does 2 damage, which can add a trigger to our Blood Chief Ascension, but it can also scry, right? And it also can go to a target creature or player, and it's instant, right? So, but the scry is super important because later on we're going to be looking for specific cards, right? And that can really, really help. All right, then we also have Terminate, so just destroy your opponent's creatures that are too big or that we just can't deal with. All right, so that's just an instant speed 2-mana destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated. That's pretty sweet. All right, we got Blightning. Blightning's a 3-mana card. It's all sorcery speed, which is not the best, but it does 3 damage to a target player, and then that player also has to discard 2 cards, which also works well with Blood Chief Ascension. But if you don't have Blood Chief Ascension, then it still makes them discard 2 cards, which is actually really, really bad. Right? It only targets a player, but can't target a creature, but that's okay. In general, though, like if you have like Blood Chief Ascension online and then they're discarding 2 cards, you're hitting them for 3, and then for each card they discard, they're getting 2 more, and you're gaining back 4 life, and so that can just be a super killer for your opponent. All right, then we got 3 of Volt Charge. So Volt Charge is a 3-mana, deal 3 damage to target creature or player, but you can proliferate. So later on, like a lot of times you might not get that Blood Chief Ascension online right away, but what you can do is then proliferate and put a counter on the Blood Chief Ascension. You can also do things like if your opponent plays, things that rely on counters, right? Like for instance, there's a land, I forget what it is, that can destroy everything, or whatever. There's an artifact that makes it so whatever X counter you have, players can't cast that spell, right? If you actually put Volt Charge, you can actually raise you can proliferate onto it, and then that way you can actually change the counter on it. Now, normally you're not going to do that to your opponent's stuff. We generally just do that for our Blood Chief Ascension, right? But you can mess around with your opponent as well. All right, and then after that, we got a 3 of Ensnaring Bridge, which is actually the best time. Right now is the best time to buy it. It's like $20 American or $30 Canadian to buy it right now, and that's super huge. Like, I mean, just a few weeks ago or a few months ago, this was like super, super expensive, like $80. So now's a good time to be playing with the Ensnaring Bridge, and the thing is the Ensnaring Bridge is super hard for your opponents to get rid of it. You're almost always going to be empty-handed because you're going to basically play out as much of your hand as possible, and yeah, that way like you can, your opponent just can't attack you with anything, right? So Ensnaring Bridge is super good here. And then after that, the mana base is pretty simple. We got 4 Blood Crypts, 4 Dragon Skull Summits, 6 Mountains, 8 Swamps. Right, and the only reason why we have the 8 swamps is just because we have Phyrexian Arena, which requires 2 black. Now, the only problem is you constantly need cards, and I have tried other things like in this slot here, but I think Phyrexian Arena might be the best one. I also had Dark Confidant in there, but Dark Confidant is super, super expensive. We're like $60 to $80 each, and you can get the 3 Phyrexian Arenas for $30. So, the Phyrexian Arena is a little bit better. It also, Dark Confidant can hit you for a lot more instead of just getting 1 extra, drawing a card and losing the mana cost of the card, right? You only lose 1 life. So Phyrexian Arena might be the better way to go with this, right? So yeah, it's not too bad. Right now, if you want to upgrade this to Dark Confidant, then I guess it's okay. I haven't really noticed too much of a difference between these ones. All right, so anyways, that is the deck. Now, right now, MTG Goldfish has this at $257, which is actually pretty steep to play for, to pay for a modern deck. Well, it's actually not steep for a modern deck, but it is steep for, something that's maybe not tier 1. So what you can do is I actually made a budget sleeper agent deck. All right, so budget sleeper agent basically is a very similar type of deck. We got sleeper agent, and then instead of some things, I've made some adjustments. So we no longer have the Ensnaring Bridge. Instead, we have 4 of Lightning Bolt and 2 Fatal Pushes. Right, I kept in the Dragon Skull Summits, but we basically removed those. We removed the Blood Crypt, right, and put in just some mountains and swamps. I think I put in 3 swamps in 1 mountain. Yeah, so 3 swamps, 1 mountain to adjust the mana base to make it a little bit cheaper. Instead of Phyrexian Arena, what we're going to do is cast Underworld Dreams, and that's going to just further tax our opponent. We also got rid of the Blood Chief Ascension. Now, when I bought Blood Chief Ascension, it was like $3 to $5 each, but right now Blood Chief Ascension has gone up and it's like a lot of money. So yeah, it's actually really bad. But whenever, here we got Underworld Dreams is 3 black. Whenever an opponent draws a card, Underworld Dreams deals 1 damage to that player. So basically just punishes them for drawing cards, right? And so that's that constant trickling of life down, right? And then on top of that, we still have our Sleeper Agent, which is taxing them. We still have Stab Wounds, we still have Vampiric Link, and we still have all the rest for them to shred their hand, to get rid of their creatures, to deal damage to them and stuff like that. So, I mean, overall, is this going to be nearly as good as the other deck? Now, probably not, but it is also only $33, whereas this one is $257. So, yeah, I think overall, this one's it's kind of a blast to play, because basically it's kind of like a black and red donate deck where you're just giving stuff to your opponent that they don't want, and then after that you're just feeding them like magma jets and lightning bolts or whatever, and just trying to wreck your opponent's face. So overall, like, it's pretty fun to play. I really like it. If you want, give it a try. It's only $31.36 online. If you're still playing on Magic Online, then yeah, give it a shot and see how you like it. It's actually a lot of fun to play. And the good thing is that the cards for it are actually used mostly elsewhere as well. Like, so you're gonna see like things like Terminate, Magma Jet, and Snaring Bridge and stuff like that in other decks as well. So that is it for the day. I hope you guys like this one. Let me know in the comments like what you think, or if there's a card that you think might go better in here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next video.